So today's Old Testament passage is pretty boring. It's just a whole list of names of campsites and also of boundaries and things like that. It's really about taking stock. As we draw to the end of the book of Numbers, the final day is going to be tomorrow. They're kind of just concluding the book and they're reminiscing, they're kind of remembering everything that's happened. But there's also a looking forwards as well. And for us, this taking stock exercise, although it sounds quite dull when we just read a list of campsites, the principle here could be applied to our lives today. So, first of all, what do? They look at the campsites that they've been in through all the years they've been with Moses in the wilderness. Sometimes it can be a helpful thing for us to just look at our past, for us to just maybe for, even if it's 10 to 15 minutes, maybe with a scrap of paper and a bit of a pen, a pen or something, to just reflect on where have I been in my journey with God? What have been the major campsites? Maybe it's been Shepton Mallet, but I don't actually mean a literal campsite. What have been the main sort of stationary points which for me have been really, really important? Where are those along the road? Reflect on the past. Then what they do is they talk about the boundaries for the future. They talk about the land that God has promised to give them. Do you remember in Genesis chapter 12, God appeared to Abraham and he said, I'm going to give you a land that's going to be seriously awesome. This is the land. And now they're about to enter it. And so God is kind of, again, saying these are the boundaries that you are going to go into. So they're not just looking at what's happened in the journey so far. They're also kind of taking stock, as it were, of the land that's about to become their inheritance, of the things that God has promised them for the future. So it's about the past, but it's also about the future. And again, one of the things that might be helpful to do in a moment of taking stock is not just to write down where have I been so far, but what do I want God to do for me in the future? Or what do I feel like he's promised he's going to do? What are the things, not that it's about us, but about the kind of the kingdom that he wants me to play a role in, the things that maybe he's calling me to step out in. And then this final bit about leaders, who's going to allot the land and things like that. One of the things that that shows us is that as well as it being about God's promises, it's also about our stepping in and being willing to appropriate those, to take hold of them and to say, yeah, we believe God said this and so we're going to see it happen. Caleb, who's the first guy that's listed on there, is one of the great leaders of Israel. He was one who thought we can do this and we can see this happen. And in the same way, you have other leaders that were needed to make the promises come to pass. Promises only ever come to pass because God is powerful and he's sovereign. But he does expect us to partner with him. And one of the reasons Israel spent so long in the wilderness is because they wouldn't enter the promised land because they got frightened of all the people that lived in it. And this is eventually when they do choose to enter it. But it's remembering for us, what are the promises that God's got for me in the future? And then maybe take a few minutes to write down, what do I need to do so that those things can come to pass? What are the next steps for me? So what's the past? What are the promises for the future? And what is there for me to do now?